Woo! Woohoo! I am very excited about tonight. I'm so happy to be continuing in Exodus. Very, very, very much so. I'm thinking this will probably be a little bit longer than normal. I'm not trying to just do 10 chapters tonight. I'm trying to go a little bit further than that. To everybody that shows up for these, that takes this seriously, that does the work, that has your Bibles open, that reads along, that ties the verses together, that reads on your own, that sits down and actually opens it and reads books at a time. We do 10 chapters, anywhere to 10 chapters to 30 chapters. I mean, it depends. There's been a lot. I find that the comfort spot is probably about 10 chapters, maybe 12. Gives it about an hour and a half, up to 2 hours, depending on whatever. We do that twice a week. You should be doing that every single day by yourself in the book, reading very slow, making sure you understand every word, and it's really simple. The only thing you need outside of the Bible is a dictionary. It's common sense. Every verse just means exactly what it says. I have some very cool news that I would like to share with you guys before we get started tonight. Um, some very cool news. So when I show this to somebody, when I show this to somebody, I try really hard to stress the level of importance that this should have in your life. I try really hard to explain the life or death situation that everybody you meet it finds themselves in, whether they realize they're in it or not. Doesn't make a difference. Whoever sins is the servant of sin. Whoever sins is of the devil. That's what the Bible says. Nowhere in the Bible, nowhere, not a single verse does it say that a real believer still sins. Nowhere. You'll never find it. It says the opposite, actually. It says that a real believer cannot sin. It says that a real believer is free from sin. Even Jesus himself said so. So I have some news, and when I show this to somebody, and when I know they're taking it serious, when I know that they're going to take it serious, when I know that they're sitting down and they're actually reading and they're doing it, John to Jude, or John to Jude, Matthew to Jude, Luke to Jude, Mark to Jude, and they're doing that New Testament the 4 times, and they're going slow and they're taking notes and they're watching the videos and they're doing it. When I know they're taking it seriously, then I will start slowly teaching them how to preach it to people, right? How to do it to make a lasting. Honey, can you turn it down just a bit, pretty please? How to do it in such a way that you make such a lasting impression on them that it never leaves their mind, that every time they do something that they think is sin, that John 8:34 in your voice runs through their head, and their eyes begin to open and the scales begin to fall away, and they begin to see that every time they sin, they're just serving sin. Sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes a few years, sometimes it takes them losing everything they have in the physical world. I've seen this, I've preached to people. We've turned them over before. This it's not a joke. It's never been a joke, it never will be a joke. Sometimes it takes the person forever. I mean, it just, I guess, Jesus is right. Some seed gets thrown on a stone, some gets thrown by the wayside, some gets thrown among the thorns, some goes into good ground. You never really know when every word you say is being heard by somebody. You never know. That's why it is so important that the person that says, "Hey, I'm going to believe, I'm going to trust Jesus," it is so important that that person takes the time. If they really believe, they will. If it's just natural. It's natural. Me lining up with the book is just as natural as me breathing. There is no way out of this once I figured out what it was. Once my eyes were opened and the scales fell away, and I was like, holy shit, Jesus paid for it all. Once that happened, I knew that there was no way out of preaching. And this is a big buildup because this is a big deal. There's a guy, and I'm not going to say his name now. I have 3 years worth of arguing, all in text, everything, minus the phone calls we had on it in between where he would call me the devil and hang up. But I have 3 years of us going head to head. Boom. And then yesterday, I woke up and in my inbox was a thank you. Was a fucking thank you. Because he knows I'm fucking doing everything I can to hold it back. Whew. He saw Ephesians 2:15 and it finally cut that cord. It finally cut him deep enough. And he's like, everybody's going to hate me for telling him this. I was like, I know. And today I actually sent him back the messages of him telling me I was a heretic. I'm like, don't worry about people telling you you're a heretic. You called me one. And now look at this is what this is. This is what this is. You know, it must be pretty miserable for you, whoever this is. I'm going to put the comment on the screen so it sticks with the Bible study. So everybody can remember that you're the asshole that comes in and mocks me. Right? It must be pretty fucking miserable to you that that's all you have to do with your own life is to come in here and judge the people who smoke cigarettes. I smoke cigarettes. You must be a miserable fucking person to treat me the way you do when there's a billion other smokers in this world that Jesus died for. You're a miserable hypocrite. You gotta be a certain kind of bitter for that. But at the end of the day, it was so cool to wake up and see that in my inbox. And I'll probably turn it into I'll probably have it on the community wall after this. I've been thinking about it. I'll black out the names, but that person knows who he is, and that person, when the time comes, he'll come up here and tell his own story. Jesus paid for it all. John 8:34, right down there at the bottom, going across the bottom of the screen. Jesus answered them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, whosoever committeth sin is the servant of sin. Whoever commits sin is the servant of sin. If you sin, that's what you serve. That's it. If you want to stay stuck in that cycle the rest of your life, you go right ahead. See how it ends. On this channel, we offer you the hand out of the hole. You've been digging yourself a hole your whole life. I give you a ladder. It's that simple. It's that simple. It's all I'm here to do is preach the Bible. So tonight we're going to be picking up where we left off at Exodus chapter 10. I don't know why I just had to do. It's just such a fucking. There's so much more to this story. You guys have no idea. Like this guy literally called me the devil. All kinds of shit. All kinds of shit. Back and forward, back, and then to get a thank you, like to just to get a thanks. You know, to have him tell me like this hit me this morning. I was like, okay, good. And so told him, you know, go start doing the Bible studies. If I sit up here for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, there's no reason why you shouldn't. There's no reason why you shouldn't have to. If I did the 4 months on the floor to figure it out with the book, 18 hours a day, which really fucking I lost my house for this shit. We really did that. That really happened. If I did that, there's no reason why you shouldn't have to read every word in this book. There's no reason why you shouldn't have to sit down and figure it out. I'm here to help you, absolutely, but I'm not here to do it for you. I'm your leg up. You're not gonna pull me backwards. Oh yeah, and then tomorrow night, I'm so excited. Don't forget tomorrow night, Katie will be here. I'm very excited to do this Bible study on levels you guys can't even begin to understand. This is someone that if they understand it and if they accept it, that this will set them completely fucking free. No guilt, no shame, no nothing for the rest of their life. I'm so happy to even just the conversation in itself. It's you know sometimes it's hard, but you set that seed, see how it grows, see what it does. So don't forget that's tomorrow, same time, 8 o'clock. That's going to be one Bible study you don't want to miss. So that is the truth. So what up, Brunette? What up, everybody? This is what it is. We're going to continue on where we left off in Exodus. And these are the Bible studies. This isn't argue time. If you've got questions, write them down, save them to the end or during if we're in the chapter. If you got something, I try and pay as good attention as I can. This will be in the playlist called Old Testament read-alongs. There's Old Testament, New Testament, and prophets. It's just reading every word of the book in order. Boom, 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 boom. Well, kind of. We did the New Testament first. Now we're in the Old. Then we did the prophets. Now we're in the Old Testament. We'll go back to the prophets and hop around. But either way, the playlists themselves, it's each book. It is every verse of the book. We don't run from nothing, don't hide from nothing. We hit every single verse that everybody else wants to skip. They'll give you excuses. I'm here to tell you it means exactly what it says. It means exactly what it says. And that's why Exodus is going to be a lot of fun tonight. So, Exodus chapter 10. I know we did it, but we're going to redo it anyway. Kind of just remind everybody where we're at. To everybody that's taking it serious, thank you. And let's get it started. Exodus chapter 10, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart. Remember, he started doing all these plagues. And the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him. Remember, we talked about that, how God's in control of both sides. God's telling Moses, Go into Pharaoh. He's not going to let my people go. God's also making Pharaoh's heart hard so that he won't let the people go, so that their scales can fall away, so that they can see what the Egyptians were doing to them, so that they would be able to appreciate what God was about to do for them. Did they ever actually appreciate what he did? No. And we're going to get into that tonight. So, Exodus chapter 10, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show these my signs before him, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy son and of thy son's son what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you may know how that I am the Lord. So, you want to do all these signs so that he would be remembered forever. And he is. And Moses and Aaron came in unto Pharaoh and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of the Hebrews, How long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me? Let my people go, that they may serve me. Else, if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow I will bring the locust into thy coast. Now, your brain should be picking back up where we left off. You should be starting to form the images in your mind. And this is, yes. And they shall cover the face of the earth, that one cannot be able to see the earth, and they shall eat the residue of that which is escaped, which remaineth unto you from all the hail, and shall eat every tree which groweth for you out of the field. And they shall fill thy houses, and the houses of all thy servants, and the houses of all the Egyptians, which neither thy fathers nor thy fathers' fathers have seen since the day that they were upon the earth unto this day. So Moses is threatening Pharaoh, let him go, or I'm going to cover your coast with locusts. And he turned himself and went out from Pharaoh like a boss. Just told him, let him go, or you're getting fucked up tomorrow. Turn around, mic drop, walk away. And Pharaoh's servant said unto him, How long shall this man be a snare unto us? Let the men go, that they may serve the Lord their God. Knowest thou not yet that Egypt is destroyed? So even the servants are really confused as to what's going through Pharaoh's head, because they're like, dude, just let him go. Egypt is already destroyed. And Moses and Aaron were brought again unto Pharaoh, and he said unto them, Go serve the Lord your God. But who are they that shall go? And so he said, You can go serve God, but who all are you trying to bring? And Moses said, We will go with our young and with our old, with our sons and with our daughters, with our flocks and with our herds we will go, for we must hold a feast unto the Lord. And he said unto them, Let the Lord be so with you as I will let you go. And your little ones, look to it, for evil is before you. Moses was like, Not so. Go now, ye that are, oh no, this is Pharaoh still. Not so, go ye that are men and serve the Lord. So Pharaoh only wanted to let him bring just the guys, for that you did desire. And they were driven out from Pharaoh's presence. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thy hand over the land of Egypt for the locusts, that they may come up upon up upon the land of Egypt, and eat every herb of the land, and even all that the hail hath left. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt, and the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts. And the locusts went up over all the land of Egypt and rested in all the coast of Egypt. Very grievous were they. Before them there was no such locust as they, neither after them shall there be such. Only one, Dave, only one. And that's the real Israelites. Verse 15, for they covered the face of the whole earth, so that the land was darkened, and they did eat every herb of the land, and all the fruit of the trees which the hail had left. And there remained not any green thing in the trees or in the herbs of the field through all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh called for Moses and Aaron in haste, and he said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. So the locusts were so bad, Pharaoh was like, just fuck. Just nope. Now therefore forgive, I pray thee, my sin only this once, and entreat the Lord your God, that he may take away from me this death only. And he went out from Pharaoh and entreated the Lord. And the Lord turned a mighty strong west wind, which took away the locusts and cast them into the Red Sea. There remained not one locust in all the coast of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart so that he would not let the children of Israel go. He hardened his heart again. Hardened his heart again. And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. And Moses stretched forth his hand towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. They saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwellings. And Pharaoh called unto Moses and said, go ye, serve the Lord. Only let your flocks and your herds be stayed. Let your little ones also go with you. And Moses said, thou must give us also sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice unto the Lord our God. So Pharaoh's like, fine, the darkness, just make it go. You guys can all go, just leave your herds. And Moses was like, not so. We need to be able to make sacrifice and offering. We don't know what he's going to ask for. What's up, Jerry? Verse 26. Our cattle also shall go with us. There shall not be an hoof be left behind. For thereof we take to our cattle shall also go with us. There shall not an hoof be left behind. For thereof we must take to serve the Lord our God, and we know not with what we must serve the Lord until we come thither. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. And Pharaoh said unto him, get thee from me. Take heed to thyself. See my face no more. For in that day thou seest my face, thou shalt die. And Moses said, thou hast spoken well. I will see thy face again no more. So he brings Moses in and tells him, you can take everybody, just not the cattle. Moses said, no, that's not going to work. And Pharaoh told him, get away from me. So now going into chapter 11. Exodus chapter 11, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, yet will I bring one plague more upon Pharaoh and upon Egypt. Afterwards he will let you go hence. When he shall let you go, he shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of Egyptians. Moreover, the man Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants and in the sight of the people. That's how God works. Everybody was talking shit about Moses at first, but now even the Egyptians are looking at him like, who the fuck is this dude? And God spun the hearts of the people. God was in control of every aspect of what was happening with this taking people out of Egypt thing, breaking their hard bondage. You guys remember all that about the Jews being slaves, Hebrews being slaves. I notice he doesn't call them Jews either, but the Hebrews being slaves. And God was in control of all aspects of what was happening. And Moses said, thus saith the Lord, about midnight I will go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. Listen, everybody that thinks God doesn't reconcile murder or any of the most horrid things, you guys all think that he didn't reconcile it, but you forget that he created it and he uses it himself on everybody. And Moses said, thus saith the Lord, About midnight will I go out into the midst of Egypt, and all the firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die, from the firstborn of the Pharaoh, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sitteth upon his throne, upon even unto the firstborn of the maidservant that is behind the mill, and all the firstborn of the beasts, even the animals. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall be any like it any more. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So he did this even to show, not Pharaoh, he could have switched Pharaoh's heart in the beginning. He did all of this to show the Israelites, to show the Hebrews. He did all of this to show them his power. And he says it multiple times over and over and over, that you may know that it is the Lord that does this. But against any of the children of Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that you may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. And all these thy servants shall come down unto me and bow down themselves unto me, saying, Get thee out, and all the people that follow thee, and after that I will go out. And he went out from Pharaoh in a great anger. And the Lord said unto Moses, Pharaoh shall not hearken unto you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Egypt. And Moses and Aaron did all these wonders before Pharaoh, and the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, so that he would not let the children of Israel go out of his land. Hardened his heart again. And every time it says that, if you think about it, God having to harden Pharaoh's heart means that Pharaoh at some point was like, this has to stop. And God kept hardening his heart. Exodus 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take them. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month, they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for a lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your account for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish. Without blemish. This was a signifier to what was to come, and it was also the beginning of Passover. You'll see. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats, and you shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the morning. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two sides of the post, on the upper door post of the house wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with the legs, and with the pertinence thereof. One second. I want to get an exact definition on this. An animal's viscera or internal organs. There we go. Especially the heart, liver, and lungs. Perfect. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire his head and his legs, and with the pertinence thereof. And you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. And that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt, and I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where you are, And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. By an ordinance forever. Now, this is the best part right here. Watch. I'm going to give you a verse to tie it to. Ooh, which one is it? Is it 7? No. Hang on a second. It's either 7, 6, or 5. It's got to be 5. Triumphing. Is it? No. Triumphing. Is it? Can't be Colossians 2:15. It is, I think, though, actually. I'm thinking of 2 Corinthians 5 being the reconciliation. This was the other one that talks about Jesus. Jesus is that perfect lamb. All right, so check it out. So it is to you by an ordinance forever, right here. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast unto the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever, by an ordinance. Now watch. Do. Blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. Right there. And you, being dead in your sins and the uncircumcision of your flesh, hath he quickened together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, blotting out the handwriting of ordinances that was against us, which was contrary to us, and took it out of the way, nailing it to the cross. And having spoiled principalities and powers, he made a show of them openly, triumphing over them in it. Jesus triumphed over them in their own ordinances, in their own laws. In their own laws. So just to give you an idea, as we get into what's about to unfold throughout Exodus, you have to understand that this is about to be the laws he's going to start laying out. Boom, 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 boom. This is one of them. You got to keep the Passover. You got to do this every single year. If you're under the, if you think you're any kind of gods and you think you're under the law, like if you say, oh, I got to keep this commandment and this commandment, then you have to fucking keep this one. How many of you fucking people keep this? How many of you fucking people put blood on your doorpost? How many of you people kill a lamb? Right? How many? And then put the blood on the doorpost and then eat the entire thing and or burn with fire the rest of it. How many of you people do that every single year? Because if you don't do it, you're breaking the ordinance. If you break the ordinance, then you're sinning. If you sin, you're of the devil. If you sin, you're the servant of sin. Jesus was the lamb without blemish that reconciled it all for you. We put his blood on our doorposts. As a believer, I put his blood on my doorpost. Him doing it counted for me doing it. That's what being a believer, and we're going to get into a lot of that. So just as we go along, so Exodus 12:14, and this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast unto the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. Also Ephesians 2:15, in light of what that dude talked about yesterday morning and what we're talking about now, this is one of those things right here. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 15. So he calls it an ordinance, and in the New Testament he tells you, for he is our peace, who hath made both one, and hath broken down the middle wall of partition between us, which was those ordinances, having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments contained in ordinances. So even the law of commandments abolished in Christ. Only if you're a believer. If you still think you sin, then you're still an unbeliever. If you still think you're under the law, then you're still a sinner. Because all you're going to do is break it over and over and over and over. Jesus kept the law for us. Jesus kept the law for you. Him doing it counts as you doing it if you trust him. Having abolished in his flesh the enmity, even the law of commandments, that's the 10, contained in ordinances, just like the one we just read, for to make in himself of twain one new man, so making peace. It's abolished. It's done. Jesus fulfilled it. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial, and you shall keep it a feast unto the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. And because Jesus kept it, it counts as me keeping it. I will keep it forever, perfectly flawless. I can't fuck it up because he didn't. If you sin, you're the servant of sin. It's end of story. Exodus 12:15. 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day you shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the seventh day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel. You want to keep that law? You think you can keep that law? If you break that law, you're cut off. And in the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and in the seventh day there shall be a holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. Do you follow those laws? If you don't follow those laws, you're cut off anyway. And he shall observe the feast of unleavened bread. For this is the self same day that I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. So either you keep that or you're done anyway. So if you're going to go by the law, you better keep that. You better keep it fucking perfectly, because if you don't, you're done. The only way to keep it perfect is to accept that Jesus did it for you. He is the law. He kept the law. He fulfilled the law. He abolished the law for all those who believe. The real believers will not be judged by the law, because the law is not made for a righteous man. 1 Timothy 1:9. But for the lawless and disobedient, for the unholy and profane, for the ungodly, and for sinners. If you still sin, you're going to be judged by the law, because you don't keep these anyway. So you're going to be guilty of those too. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. Do you do that? 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth, for whosoever, whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. Who doesn't matter. Do you know what days those are on? Do you have it marked on your calendar? Do you keep this perfectly? If you don't keep it perfectly, then you're not keeping the law. If you don't keep the law, then you're a sinner. If you're a sinner, then you're of the devil. You shall eat nothing leavened. In all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. Otherwise, you are cut off from the congregation of Israel. Done. Then Moses called for all the leaders of Israel and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of his house till the morning. Do you do that every year? If you don't, you're cut off from Israel. You're cut off. You're never getting in. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. For the Lord will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he seeth the blood of the lintel and on the two side posts, the Lord will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and to thy sons forever. Never changes. Never changed. It's never going to change. It's never going to fucking change. That's the law you're going to be judged by. If you won't accept what Jesus did in fulfilling the promise that made to Abraham, if you won't accept God keeping his promise through Christ and that you're free from the law, you're not under it, so you can't break it. If you won't accept that and you want to keep going by, you got to try and do this, and you can't drink, you can't smoke, you want to try and keep them laws, you better keep this fucking law, or you're going to be cut off forever. And it shall come to pass when you be come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what mean you do this? What mean ye by this service? That you shall say, it is a sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head in worship. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass, and you got to figure that they're listening because they just watched these other 9 plagues hit Egypt. So they're going to listen to this one and they're going to go put the blood on the thing. Because if they didn't, he would have killed their sons too. And you gotta see that in the text when you're reading. The only way God would pass over their house is if they had that blood on those posts. If they did not have the blood on the posts, he would have took their firstborn too. If you do not have the blood of a perfect lamb to pay for you, you're done. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. Now notice, it's from the Pharaoh to all the way to the people in the dungeon. Does God have respect to Pharaoh because of his position? Does God have respect to the priest because of their position? Does God have respect to the prisoner in prison? Does God have respect to any of them? No, none. It's the same thing today. Whoever sins is the servant of sin. If they sin, they're of the devil. He doesn't care if you're a priest, if you're the president. He doesn't care if you're a senator. He doesn't care if you're an actor. He doesn't care if you've given all your money to the poor. He doesn't care if you go to the heathen building every Sunday and pretend to be a believer. He doesn't care. If you sin against him, you're done. It's right there. And think about the mind frame of these people. Put yourself in Pharaoh's shoes. Pharaoh thought he was right too. Pharaoh fucking ruled Egypt. They thought their religion was right too. They were just like all these fucking idiots in the heathen buildings. They had their priests, they had their sorceries and their this and their that and their fucking baptisms of fire and sacrificing their children. They thought they had it right too. They woke up and found all their children dead. And it came to pass that at midnight the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat upon his throne, unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants, and all the Egyptians, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. The firstborn, God ain't playing. Infants, children, grown ups. If you were the firstborn in your family, you dead. And he called for Moses and Aaron by night and said, rise up and get you forth among my people, both you and the children of Israel, and go serve the Lord as you have said. So Pharaoh finally willing to let him go. Also take your flocks and your herds as you have said, and be gone and bless me also. And the Egyptians were urgent upon the people that they might send them out of the land in haste, for they said, we be all dead men. So the Egyptians were like, get the fuck out of here, go, go, go. We're done. We're done. They were done. And the people took their dough before it was leavened, their kneading troughs being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment. And the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, so that they lent upon them such things as they required, and they spoiled the Egyptians. Shit they borrowed, they were never given it back. And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men besides children. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. So they didn't even prepare food for themselves, which shows you the lack of trust that they had that this was actually going to happen. But they put the blood on their doors. They fucking knew. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. Right there. Look at that. Black Hebrew Israelite destroyed. Their whole doctrine falls apart. That verse right there. Boom. Now this is because they try and say that slavery was them in America. Wrong. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day it came to pass, that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. Now, what I like about this, and I want you to pay attention to this, because it happens in one fucking day. Shit gets a little bad. The plagues started small. boom, 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 and it escalated from there. Do, 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 do. It wasn't a 10-day process. It took time. How many times did Moses have to get back in front of Pharaoh? How long did they do this for? It was a process. It took time, and none of them saw it coming. And then just boom, you're gone. One day. Fucking cool, man. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day it came to pass that all the hosts of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. I'm telling you, it's gonna be the same thing. He's gonna show up, boom, the 144,000 will be gone, and the world's just gonna be like shit. Oops. 42. It is a night to be much observed unto the Lord for bringing them out of the land of Egypt. This is that night of the Lord to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generations. And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, this is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. Think about that. These are all the ordinances. Boom, 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 boom. All the ordinances that go into this. If you break one, you're cut off from Israel. That's the law. So if somebody claims to be of that law and they don't follow this to a T, then they're a fraud. All the congregate right here. In one house shall it be eaten. Thou shalt not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house. So you're not even allowed to bring it out of the house. Neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and let them come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. Now, you see this here, and you're going to see this a lot in Exodus, Numbers, and Leviticus, and Deuteronomy, that God counts the strangers as a part of them. As long as they have that circumcision, as long as they get that it's supposed to be the knowledge. It was the knowledge he gave to Abraham, and the circumcision was the token of the covenant. Remember, Moses has not been given the actual law yet. This is just, come on, it's just piling up right here. But he shows that even the strangers, they shall be as one born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof. One law, now watch this, one law shall be to him that is homeborn and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. It's not two laws. It's not 613 laws separated from each other. It's one law. And you either keep it perfectly or you don't. You either keep it or you don't. There's no both. There's no being both. You can't be lukewarm. You can't do both. And even the stranger can be circumcised in the heart and keep it perfectly and be counted as one born in the land. That's the whole design behind this. You see it in Exodus. The setup. It's the fucking setup. God himself laid the net for these people. This is the law. You either keep it or you're of the devil. And then he made the way, and they don't see it. Thus did all the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the self same day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. Now watch. This gets so much fun. I'm so excited. Exodus 13, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb among the children of Israel, both of man and beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, remember this day in which you came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Calls it again, bondage. Out of the house of bondage. For by strength of the hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall no leavened bread be eaten. This day came you out of the mouth. This day came you out in the month of Abib. And it shall be when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he sware unto thy fathers to give thee, a land flowing with milk and honey, that thou shalt keep this service in this month. 7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and in the seventh day shall be a feast unto the Lord. Unleavened bread shall be eaten 7 days, and there shall no leavened bread be seen with thee, neither shall there be leaven seen with thee in all thy quarters. And thou shalt show thy son in that day, saying, This is done because of that which the Lord did unto me when I came forth out of Egypt. And it shall be for a sign unto thee upon thine hand, and for a memorial between thine eyes, that the Lord's law may be in thy mouth. For with a strong hand hath the Lord brought thee out of Egypt. Thou shalt therefore keep this ordinance in his season from year to year. If you don't keep it, what did he say back in chapter 12? You're cut off from Israel. So if the BHI, if they're not on this, then they're not even close. 11. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, everything that comes out of a vagina, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. Now, do you see how the redemption is built into Exodus? Do you see how it's built right there? Boom, it's built even into Exodus. The redemption of the Lamb of God. Here's a really good verse to tie this to, right? You like this? On 129. I wasn't sure if it was chapter 1 or chapter 3. Here. Do. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him, and saith, Behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world. Which takes away the sin of the world. It's done. He took it away. He kept the law for you. Jesus kept all them ordinances. That's what he did it for. Was because you can't. He did it for you. You're not obligated to. You don't have to. Trying to just pisses him off. Trying to do it by the law. I mean, it's smart, be a decent person. Use common sense, but there's no self-righteousness. There's zero self-righteousness. Just because you don't drink, don't smoke crack, you're not a hooker. Just because you don't do any of those things does not mean you're better than anybody else. Jesus reconciled all things, doing those things and not doing those things. He made you perfect. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. So this is an interesting law, and I do happen to love this one because it's like everything that you have, the firstborn of everything that you have, is to be the Lord's, and you got to redeem it with a lamb. And it shall be, when the Lord shall bring thee into the land of the Canaanites, as he sware unto thee and to thy fathers, and shall give it thee, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the males shall be the Lord's. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break his neck. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shalt thou redeem with a lamb. That's the trick. It's understanding what that fucking redemption is. It's right there. Boom, is gospel right there. And every firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb. And if thou wilt not redeem it, then thou shalt break its neck. And all the firstborn of man among thy children shalt thou redeem. And it shall be, when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, What is this? That thou shalt say unto him, By strength of hand the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the house of bondage. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that the Lord slew all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to the Lord all that openeth the matrix, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. You trade a lamb. You don't have to sacrifice your firstborn son. You just have to give a lamb, which was symbolic of the promise that God made to Abraham. And then it was also symbolic of God telling Abraham to sacrifice his firstborn. And it was all trying to show you that God was going to, it was all trying to show them that God was going to sacrifice his only son instead of you having to do it. It's fucking beautiful, man. And it shall be for a token upon thine hand, and for frontlets between thine eyes. For by strength of hand the Lord brought us forth out of Egypt. And it came to pass, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that God led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, although that was near. For God said, lest peradventure the people repent when they see war and they return to Egypt. So God knew there was a war going on over in the Philistines' land, and he said, we're going to go a different way just so they don't freak out. Verse 18, but God led the people about through the way of the wilderness of the Red Sea, and the children of Israel went up harnessed out of the land of Egypt. And Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had straitly sworn the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones away hence with you. And they took their journey from Succoth and encamped in Etham, in the edge of the wilderness, in the edge of the wilderness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. He took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of fire by night from before the people. God led them himself. Pillar of light and a pillar of fire. Fucking neat. Exodus 14. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Paharathoth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal Zephon. Before it shall you encamp by the sea. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land, the wilderness hath shut them in. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart. There he goes again. I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them. And I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am the Lord. And they did so. So they stopped where they were supposed to stop. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled. And the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? Pharaoh's heart. There God goes again. Turns Pharaoh's heart again. And it was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And the Lord hardened the heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel. And the children of Israel went out with a high hand. But the Egyptians pursued after them, all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen, and his army, and overtook them by encamping by the sea, besides Pihahiroth, Pahahiroth, before Baal Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid. And the children of Israel cried out unto the Lord. So even after all that, they still got scared. And they said unto Moses, because there was no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry us forth out of Egypt? Is not this the word that we did tell thee in Egypt, saying, leave us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. After everything these motherfuckers had witnessed, they still didn't believe. Verse 13, and Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians, whom you have seen today, you shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and he shall hold your peace. I love this. Right there. This backs up everything I've been telling you guys since the beginning. The Lord shall fight for you, He kept the law for you. He did it for you. All that right and wrong shit you got going on in you, he already conquered that. That's done. It never really fucking existed to begin with. Just people have a tendency to eat off that fucking tree. Everybody's born with that. That fucking Adam and Eve screw up hardwired into them. You got to rewire people. It's completely retraining your mind. And nothing really changes, just everything has changed. He reconciled it all. The Lord fought for you, bled for you, died for you, got up from the dead for you. The Lord shall fight for you, and you shall hold your peace. And the Lord said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thy hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. God's looking at the Egyptians. He's like, I'm going to kill all you motherfuckers, and everybody's going to know my name. That's his idea of getting honor. He wanted everybody to bow to him. He just wanted Israel to believe at the end of the day. I mean, we all know because he says it a bunch of times. He just really wanted Israel to believe. And the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, verse 19, and the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud of darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. Now, pay attention here. It was dark for Egyptians, it was light for the Israelites. It was the same thing. It was the same pillar of fire, but it was darkness for the Egyptians and it was light for the Israelites. Everything that a sinner thinks is sin is perfect for a believer. What they think is darkness is light for us because we know what Jesus did. They choose to serve sin over and over. They stay stuck in the dark. They're the Egyptians, serving sin over and over and over. Serving sin over and over and over. And that's what I like about Exodus 2 when Moses killed that Egyptian, like when they said that he chose to spend his time with the Hebrews, he chose not the Bible puts it sin for a season. He chose the sufferings of his people, then sin, then the pleasures of sin for a season. Let me remember the verse. No, it's Hebrews 11:25. Well, we all know, we read the story of Joseph and Moses, how all this came along. Hebrews 11:25, right here. So you know that this is the problem with the Egyptians. And then right here, by faith Moses, when he was come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of God than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season. Moses knew the truth. Moses gave up. He just did what he was told. It's beautiful. And it came to pass between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud and darkness to them, but it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground. That dry ground is so important. Dry ground. That's what makes this the insanity that it is. Because if you've ever stepped into a shallow river, your foot gets sunk into the mud. He had to dry the ground for them to get across it. or they would have never made it. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses and his chariots and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch the Lord looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and through the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, popped their fucking chariot wheels off, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians." And the Lord said unto Moses, "Stretch out thy hand over the sea, that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horsemen." Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea, and the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the hosts of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them, not one. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Verse 30. Thus the Lord saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore. And Israel saw, they saw that a great work which the Lord, they saw that great work which the Lord did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared the Lord and believed the Lord and his servant Moses. But watch what happens here. Exodus 15, verse 1. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed. Sorry, tongue twister. Then sang Moses and the children of Israel this song unto the Lord, and spake, saying, I will sing unto the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. The Lord is my strength and song, and he has become my salvation. He is my God, and I will prepare him a habitation, my father's God, and I will exalt him. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. He is a man of war. People are they've got this hippie Jesus built up in their minds. You know what's a good verse for that? Matthew 10:34. Matthew 10:34. Think not that I am come to send peace. I came not to send peace, but a sword. It's never changed. It's never changed, even since the day he pulled them out of Egypt. It's never changed. It's always been the same thing. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. This isn't Granny's gospel. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his host hath he cast into the sea. His chosen captains also are drowned in the Red Sea. The depths have covered them. They sank into the bottom as a stone. Thy right hand, O Lord, is become glorious in power. Thy right hand, O Lord, hath dashed in pieces the enemy. You know what I love about this, man? Especially after Hurricane Ian, right? I bet everybody's already forgotten that that's God too. He did that. Could the military fight Ian, do you think? How do you think that would go? What are they gonna shoot it? What are they gonna fucking shoot it with something? Did it work? Okay. Cool. I just got good news. Good shit. Good shit. So, do you think the military could fight Hurricane Ian? No. No matter how much these fucking politicians keep bitching about global warming and throw more money at it, and you can't stop it. You can't stop God. And in the greatness of thine excellency, thou hast overthrown them that rose up against thee. Thou sentest forth thy wrath, which consumed them as stubble. And with the blast of thy nostrils, the waters were gathered together. The floods stood upright as a heap, and the depths were congealed in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I will pursue. I will. Oof. Good. And sorry, guys, I have to. Good. Fucking good. As much as possible. So good, man. Oh, law is not made for a righteous man. It is that important, and I have to do this. Not under the law. Cool. Should be a whole new book for this guy. Seriously, it should be a whole new book for this dude. It really, really, really should. Once it clicks, once you realize what it is, as you're reading, it'll just start being completely crystal clear, and you're gonna be like, "Holy fuck!" It's so much knowledge. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, Exodus 15:9. The enemy said, "I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My lust shall be satisfied upon them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them. Thou didst blow with thy wind, the sea covered them, they sank as lead in the mighty waters. Who is like unto thee, O Lord, among the gods? Who is like thee, glorious in holiness, fearful in praises, doing wonders? Thou stretchest out thy right hand, the earth swallowed them. Thou in thy mercy, thou in thy mercy hast led forth the people which thou hast redeemed. Thou hast guided them in the strength unto thy holy habitation. The people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestina. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. Now I like this. He calls it Palestina. I wonder where that is. He's getting it. Cool. Hang on. I'll give him a verse. Oh, man. 1 Corinthians 7:29. Oh, we're gonna pass that. Sorry, guys. I'm doing this because I want, like, I don't know. I make myself available for everybody 24/7. It just is what it is. All right. So the people shall hear and be afraid. Sorrow shall take hold on the inhabitants of Palestine. Then the dukes of Edom shall be amazed. The mighty men of Moab, trembling shall take hold upon them all, and the inhabitants of Canaan shall melt away. Fear and dread shall fall upon them by the greatness of thine army, or by the greatness of thine arm. They shall be as still as stone till thy people pass over. O Lord, till the people pass over, which thou hast purchased. Ooh, that's perfect. Fear and dread shall fall upon them. By the greatness of thine army shall they be still as a stone. Till thy people pass over, O Lord, till the people pass over which thou hast purchased. Thou shalt bring them in and plant them in the mountain of thine inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which thou hast made for thee to dwell in the sanctuary, O Lord, which thy hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever. For the horse of Pharaoh went in with his chariots and went and with his horsemen into the sea, and the Lord brought again the waters of the sea upon them. But the children of Israel went on dry land in the midst of the sea. And Miriam, the prophetess, the sister of Aaron, took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, Sing ye to the Lord, for he hath triumphed gloriously. The horse and his rider hath he thrown into the sea. So Moses brought Israel from the Red Sea, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. And when they came to Marah, they could not drink of the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. Therefore, the name of it was called Marah. And the people murmured against Moses. Now, this is where you should start seeing clearly what's going on. So God brings them through all that, remember? And then when they stopped before the Red Sea, when they stopped before it, and they started bitching at Moses, you brought us all the way out here just to get us killed. After they had just seen everything that God can do, and they doubted. And then they get to hear, and then what? And the people murmured against Moses, saying, What shall we drink? They didn't believe. They'd be like, Yeah, God, God, go God. And then as soon as it got hard, they're like, No, 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 no. And he cried unto the Lord, and the Lord showed him a tree which he had cast into the waters. The waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them, and said, If thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight. It's not about you, it's about what's right in his sight. And will give ear to his commandments and keep all his statutes. I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. Healeth thee. Isaiah 53:5. Right? Bruised for our iniquities. By his stripes we are healed. Isaiah 53:5 is perfect for this. I'll go to it. I really hope this guy takes it serious. You guys have no fucking idea how much this shit stresses me out when somebody first gets it, when it first clicks for him. And I'm like, you gotta read, you gotta fucking read. Like if you guys knew what this does to me, you would take it serious. Isaiah 53:5. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Healed. God's always been about healing. That's what he's always wanted. It's always been about what's right in his sight, not about yours. And it's so perfect because he mixes this in to show them, to take the scales away from their eyes that they cannot keep that law, and said, if thou wilt diligently hearken to the voice of the Lord thy God, and will do that which is right in his sight, and will give ear to his commandments, and keep all his statutes. If you break one, you are a breaker of the law, then you're not keeping it. I will put none of these diseases upon thee, which I have brought upon the Egyptians, for I am the Lord that healeth thee. And they came to Elim, where there were 12 wells of water, and 70 palm trees. 12 wells, 70 palm trees. And they encamped there by the waters. Bye, Dave. This isn't for your entertainment, motherfucker. This is for your knowledge. Last I checked, school was boring. I don't expect this to be much different. Why do you think I drink? What the fuck? Exodus 16, verse 1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. Look how fucking fast these people spin on God. They'll be like, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe, I believe. But the minute it gets hard, they're like, Moses, go fuck yourself. I just don't. It's fun. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full, for you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. No faith. They had no faith. They didn't trust him at all. Maybe one of these days, Tracy. Maybe one of these days. And soon. Very, very, very soon. Like maybe within the next week or two. We'll see. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to God that he had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day. Look at this. This is God's. They complained that they were hungry, and they bitched about it. They wish they would have just stayed in Egypt to die. Then said the Lord unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. See that? So clearly, this is a big deal to God, whether you keep the law or whether you break it. He wanted to know the difference between the two. He wanted to know who was going to figure it out and who wasn't going to. Who is that, Diane? Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they walk in my law or no. That's the proof. That's the proof of somebody. Do they line up with the book or do they don't? Do they still sin? Do they keep the law or do they break it? Real believers keep the law perfect. We can't break it. He gave us a lamb. 5. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said unto all the children of Israel, at even, then you shall know that the Lord hath brought you out from the land of Egypt, and in the morning, then you shall see the glory of the Lord. For that he heareth your murmurings against the Lord. And what are we that you murmur against us? Moses is like, look, you're going to see it. You're murmuring against him. Why are you murmuring against us? He's like, it's not. We're just telling you what he said. And Moses said, "This shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full, for that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord." Like, that's Moses telling them the same thing that I tell you guys. You guys are pissed at me for telling you John 8:34 means what it says, but it's not my words, it's his word. You're not mad at me, you're mad at him. Same thing, same fucking exact thing. I am the Moses of today. It's so fucking cool. It's so fucking cool. You guys have no idea. And Moses said, "This shall be when the Lord shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For that the Lord heareth your murmurings, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord." And Jesus had a verse about this too. Jesus said the same shit. They reject you. It's not, no, he that receiveth you. He that you receiveth me. I'll just go with this one because it's not as brutal. Matthew 10:40. It's not as brutal as the one that he's like, if they reject you, they receive me. But that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Matthew 10:40. He that receiveth you receiveth me, and he that receiveth me receiveth him that sent me. These guys were rejecting Moses. They were rejecting Moses, but it wasn't Moses they were getting pissed at. And even Moses knew it. He said, "Your murmurings are not against us, but against the Lord." And Moses spake unto Aaron, "Say unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he hath heard your murmurings." And it came to pass, as Aaron spake unto the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in a cloud. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak unto them, saying, At even you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. And it came to pass that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. I got something about this too. Hang on. The quails in Psalms. Wait a second. Psalms 105, verse 40. Busted out the paper. All right. So, and it came to pass that even the quails came up and covered the camp, and in the morning the dew lay round about the host. So the quails, I want to do Psalms 5, verse 40 to Exodus 16:13. And I really hope fucking Moses takes this shit serious. 105, verse 40. Right here he talks about it. He spread a cloud for a covering and fire to give light in the night. The people asked, and he brought quails and satisfied them with the bread of heaven. He opened the rock, and the waters gushed out. Ooh, this is just telling the story. We're going to get ahead of ourselves. But just so you know, like, it's talked about all throughout the Bible. It's confirmed so many different ways. 105, verse 40. Yep. And there's New Testament talks about it too, only God wasn't happy about them not trusting him. So, and it came to pass that even the quails came up, that at even the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, It is manna, for they wist not what it was. And Moses said unto them, This is the bread which the Lord hath given you to eat. God gave them angel food. He gave them angels' food. He put manna on the ground for them. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man. Now remember, the reason this ordinance is there is to see who would keep the law and who wouldn't. Do not forget that verse. Right here. Where was it? Right here. Verse 4. Exodus 16:4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate so a certain amount every day, that I may prove to them whether they will walk in my law or no. This is what God wanted to figure out, if they were going to listen or not. This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man according to the number of your persons. Take you every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did meet it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. So the one who gathered too much, when he went to go weigh it, found out that he wasn't over. And the one who gathered too little, when he went to go weigh it, found out it was perfect too. So in doing this, God was able to see who was going to keep the commandment or not. And Moses said, let no man leave of it till the morning. Notwithstanding, they hearkened. Now pay attention here. This is important for you to understand why these flesh Jews are not the real Jews. They never actually have been. And you're going to see it right here. Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto Moses, but some of them left off of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was wroth with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. When the sun waxed hot, it melted. They didn't listen. They didn't listen then. They don't listen now. God wanted to know who was going to keep the law or not. Who was going to listen to what was spoken. The word that is spoken is all written right here. If you line up with this whole book, you're perfect. If you still sin, then you're one of the ones that never listened. 22. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man, and all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said unto them, this is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which you will bake today, and seethe that you will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up until morning, as Moses bade, and it did not stink, neither was there any worms therein. And Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath unto the Lord. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. Moses told them, they did not listen. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse you to keep my commandments and my laws? Do you see how important this is? That even the ones that he brought out of Egypt did not give a fuck about him. He brought them out because of his promise to Abraham. He brought them out because of the promise to people like me. And it's not saying that I'm anything. I'm nothing. I'm absolutely nothing. I'm just one of the ones that he kept that promise to. I didn't even fucking choose that. Honestly, when I picked up the Bible to figure out if I was saved or not, I already knew I wasn't. I was fucked up because I kept serving sin over and over and over and over and over. And I wanted the answers. I didn't ask for any of this. But once you know it, you can't unknow it. Once you know the truth, you cannot unknow the truth. How did that thing go? I miss having that thing on every intro. Once you know the truth, you cannot unknow it. And it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the 7th day for to gather, and they found none. And the Lord said unto Moses, how long refuse you to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that the Lord hath given you the Sabbath. Therefore he giveth you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide you every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. So the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called the name thereof manna. And it was like coriander seed, white, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey, like the inside of a Kit Kat. And Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord commandeth. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations. that they may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. And Moses said unto Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna therein, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony, to be kept. Before the testimony. What is the testimony? The word. It's the word. They had it. They had Exodus. Moses was reading Exodus as he was going through all the shit. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, until they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came unto the borders of Canaan. Now an omer is a tenth part of an ephah. If you want to know how much an ephah weighs, Google it. Exodus 17. We start getting really good here. And the congregation of the children of Israel journeyed from the wilderness of Sin after their journeys according to the commandment of the Lord, and pitched in Rephidim. And there was no water for the people to drink. Wherefore the people did chide with Moses, and said, Give us water that we may drink. And Moses said unto them, Why chide you with me? Wherefore do you tempt the Lord? Moses is like, Why are you getting mad at me? Why do you tempt God? Like, that's Moses' way of saying, Deal with it. He's in control. Why are you coming to me? You're just going to piss him off. And the people thirsted there for water. And the people murmured against Moses and said, Wherefore is this that thou hast brought us up out of Egypt, to kill us and our children and our cattle with thirst? Notice how every time something's not going their way, what do? They fucking complain. They whine and cry and bitch and moan and groan. And when he tells them what to do, they don't fucking listen. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, What shall I do unto this people? They be almost ready to stone me. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go on before the people, take with thee of the elders of Israel, and thy rod wherewith thou smotest the river, take it in thy hand, and go. Behold, I will stand before thee there upon the rock in Horeb, and thou shalt smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it, that the people may drink. And Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. And he called the name of the place Massah and Meribah, because of the chiding of the children of Israel, and because they tempted the Lord, saying, Is the Lord among us or not? They tempted the Lord. Let me see if this is the one. I want to see if this is kind of a special thing. Everybody's always looking at this rock, and they're like, What is this thing? Rock of Horeb. Images. You may have seen this before. There it is. That's the rock. That's the one. Everybody wonders why it's like that, because Moses hit that motherfucker and water poured out of it. Right there. That's the rock. The laser cut precision. That is God. Boom. Just so you guys know, it's a real thing. Exodus 17, verse 8. Then came Amalek and fought with Israel and Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, Choose us out men, and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. So Joshua did as Moses said to him, and fought with Amalek. And Moses and Aaron and Hur went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hand, that Israel prevailed. And when he let down his hand, Amalek prevailed. But Moses' hands were heavy, and they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and Hur stayed upon his hands, the one on one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until the going down of the sun. And Joshua discomfited Amalek and his people with the edge of the sword. They disbanded them, sent them to go meet the devil that they served. Quite a good story. And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, which we're reading right now. Isn't that neat how that works? And the Lord said unto Moses, Write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehovah Nissi. Jehovah Nissi. For he said, because the Lord hath sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Exodus chapter 18. This is going to get really good. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, remember when he married Zipporah? Okay, we can go all the way back. We're not going to, but when he married Zipporah, the people that are here now, aren't you glad you pay attention? When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her two sons, of which the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land, and the name of the other was Eleazar, for the God of my father, said he, was mine help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. So Eleazar and Gershom are Moses' sons. Try and remember that. Eleazar and Gershom. And don't confuse Eleazar. I think Aaron has a son too that's close to that, and we're getting into all that. But Gershom and Eleazar are Moses' sons. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife unto Moses in the wilderness, where he encamped at the mount of God. And he said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife, and her two sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed them, and they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. Right? So it's the same greetings that they had that we have now back then. Greet them with a hug, a kiss on the cheek, tell them you love them. Boom. How you been, homie? Did you see all this shit that God did for us? Verse 8. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians. Exactly. It's exactly what it is. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. How the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord who hath delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians and out of the hand of Pharaoh, and hath delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Verse 11. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. Jethro was a priest of Midian, is sitting there saying, I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. Pretty good shit. For in the thing wherein they dealt proudly, he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came, and all the elders of Israel, to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto even? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. So Moses is like, I sit here with the book. They come to me, I show it to them. This is what we do. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, The thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. So Jethro is telling Moses, like, look, here's how many people came out of Egypt. It was like 600,000 people. A lot of people. And he's like, you can't do this by yourself, man. It's going to be too much. You're going to wear out. Hearken now unto my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. Be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God. That's the biggest key there. So, and you see this here that Jethro's telling this to Moses because even Jethro knew that not everybody sitting there was legit. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, place such over them to be rulers of the thousands, to be rulers of thousands and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties and rulers of tens. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee. And let them judge the people at all seasons, and it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. Okay. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. If thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father in law and did all that he said. And Moses chose able men out of all Israel and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard causes they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father in law depart, and he went his way into his own land. Exodus 19. Uh, you guys have no idea what's coming up. I'm so excited. Taking my time tonight. I hope you guys are all having a good night. To a certain level, I do hope this bores you, because that tells me that the 7 people that are watching this now are the ones that take it serious. Exodus 19. For me, there's no amount of boring. There's no way this book could ever be boring. It never is. Exodus 19:1. In the 3rd month, when the children of Israel were gone forth out of land of Egypt, the same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness, and there Israel camped before the mount. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. So there's another spot in the Bible where he says, Wherever the carcass is, there shall the eagles be gathered. Right? He talks about it here. I did bear you up on eagle's wings, bringing them out, giving them that freedom, taking them and separating them from Egypt and separating them unto himself is his idea of bringing you out on eagle's wings. It's just good shit. Food for thought. If you're ever reading Matthew 23, 24, 25, you'll run across it. You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, pay attention here. If you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant. Oh, this is the verse. One of them. Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. I want you to pay attention here, because Moses hasn't been given the covenant of the law yet. Moses hasn't been given the 10 Commandments and all of the ordinances. He hasn't been given it yet. So what covenant is God talking about? He's talking about the one made with Abraham. The only one he cares about was the covenant he made with Abraham. And he's very clear that you have to keep that covenant perfect if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant. Then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. You're going to tie this verse to, I think it's 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. We're going there. Let me make sure it's this one. And this ties to so many other verses. Do, do, do. By the way, my internet's been kind of sketchy the last couple of days. If it cuts out, I will be right back. Right here. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who hath called you out of darkness, no more sin, into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. It means it's done, it's over, you're perfect. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people. Ooh. And give you the rest of the ties to it too. Even though it's going to make my fucking pages fall out. First Peter chapter 2, verse 9. There we go. 1 Peter 2, verse 9. You've got Psalms 135, verse 4. Deuteronomy 26, verse 18. And Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. So we're going to look up Deuteronomy 26:19. So we're in the Torah. Right here. This peculiar people is a very, 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 very important thing, because that's, if you don't have that, if you're not that, then you're not going anywhere. And to make thee a high priest above all nations which he had made, in praise and in name and in honor, that thou mayest be a holy people unto the Lord thy God, as he hath spoken. Holy people, the same thing. And then Psalms 135, verse 4, I know was phenomenal for this. Psalms 135, verse 4. Psalms 135, verse 4. Right here. For the Lord hath chosen Jacob unto himself, and Israel for his peculiar people. This is how you know the peculiar people, right here. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. You have to be perfect. You have to keep the covenant. That's it. And you have to know what that means. You have to know what it means. If you still sin, you're not keeping the law. Every time you sin, you're only breaking it. You just keep breaking it over and over and over and over and over. He put the law there to take the scales off your eyes so that you could see that you're not saved every time you break it. And so that you would see the perfect lamb without a blemish that he gave you to be your offering. It's beautiful. Now, therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed and keep my covenant, then you shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be a king. Be to me, be perfect. Again, first Peter 2:9, and you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And keep the law means keep the law. Perfect. If you break it even once, you're not keeping it. You're just breaking it over and over and over and over. Sin, repent, repeat. Sin, repent, repeat. Sin, repent, repeat. Sin, repent, repeat. That is not keeping a law. You're not holy nothing. You're holy shit serving devil. And you shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. And this is the setup for the 144,000. Because there's only 144,000. That's it. It's been that way since the beginning. I'm hoping we get to cover that verse, and I do. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together. Now watch this. This is so cool. Because God laid down the law, right? He said, this is what it's going to be. And it wasn't talking for them, wasn't like, he was just, it's a prophecy about Christ. You see that in John chapter 5, verse 45. He said, had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. I really wanted to kind of cover this before we got into Exodus tonight, so that you guys understand Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. He was the only one that could ever do it perfectly, and he did. So him doing it counts for the believer as them doing it. John chapter 5, verse 45. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There's one that accuses you, even Moses, in whom you trust. The law is the only thing that accuses you of sin. If you compare yourself to the law, then it's that devil telling you you're not good enough. That is not conviction of the Holy Ghost. That is condemnation from the devil. If you think you sin, that is not the Holy Ghost convicting you. Convicting you. That's the devil accusing you. Do not think that I will accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, even Moses, in whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. That's Jesus saying he wrote of me. The law was a prophecy about Christ. It was what Christ was going to do to redeem you from the curse of the law. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Like for Jew Dave, he doesn't believe that because he breaks the law, he's cut off from Israel. He doesn't even believe Moses' writings. How can he ever believe Jesus? He can't. And Moses came and called the elders of the people and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. So these people stepped up and they're like, we're going to do the whole law. We can do everything that he commands. Just like the BHI, just like fucking Sakari did on my channel. He tried to say he keeps the law, but then he still breaks it. He lied to God, just like they lied to God. Right there, they lied. All that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Now watch. And the Lord said unto Moses, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, take heed to yourselves that you go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever touches the mount shall surely be put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man, it shall not live. When the trumpet soundeth long, there shall come up to the mount. When the trumpet soundeth long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said unto the people, be ready against the third day. Come not at your wives. And it came to pass on a third day in the morning that there were thunders and lightnings, a thick cloud upon the mount, and the voice of the trumpet was exceeding loud, so that all the people that was in the camp trembled. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the nether part of the mount. And Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it, fire descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. Now I'm going to show you something really neat. Most people don't know about this either. Watch this. Mount Sinai, still black. Mount Sinai is still burnt. To this day, Turkey has it completely roped off. They don't want anybody going on there at all. Yeah. Let's see if we can find a tip right there. It's perfect. That's the perfect example. There it is. The top of it is still black to this day. Right there. You guys kind of can't see it. It's still burned. It's still burnt. There it is. There you go. Boom. See how it's all charred? The whole tip of it is charred. Let's see. Get a better zoom on it. No, it's not going to give me a better zoom on it. Sorry, guys. I get the shit end of the stick on this one, but you can go look it up for yourself. There's videos on it. There's people that have snuck underneath the ropes and they've been told they got to delete the videos and shit. It's still there. It's still there. The top of it is still fucking black. Like this isn't just, you know, just not a fairy tale. Saudi Arabia, whatever. Something else I'm thinking of with Turkey. Yeah, Turkey's north of Jerusalem. You've got Israel, and you've got Syria, and then you've got Turkey attached to that. I'm ass backwards. It was Saudi Arabia, whatever. Right here, citing Saudi Arabia. The top is still black. That's the important part, there, buddy. And the Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mount quaked greatly. And it's Saudi Arabia that still has it roped off. You do still have it fenced off, and it's illegal to go on that mountain. You can look it up yourself. And when the voice of the trumpet sounded long and waxed louder and louder, Moses spake, and God answered him by a voice. And the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mount. And the Lord called Moses up to the top of the mount. And Moses went up. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. And Moses said unto the Lord, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds upon the mount, set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto him, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou and Aaron with thee. But let not the priest and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them. So Moses went down unto the people and spake unto them. Exodus chapter 20. And God spake all these words, saying, I'm going to go pee, and I will be right back. Oh. Can you give me a second? Is that what I do? Are you playing on mine or yours? Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we're getting into the good shit. No, I don't actually generally make my own drinks while I'm live. So, no, you guys are incorrect. I actually had to go pee. Whether it's alcohol or not, I don't really make my own drink. Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. So all you fucking people that you wear the little golden heathenry around your neck, your crosses and your stars and your fucking circles and your jewels and your bullshit, all of that's technically against the law. All of it. Everything. Your bumper stickers with the little Jesus fish on it. It's a fucking idol. All of it. If you want to go by the law. All of it. All of it. Garbage. All your statutes. All your fucking, what do you call them? Your nativity sets. All your heathen shit. Ugh. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. I'm going to tell you right now, this, even though the law is fulfilled and we're not under it, God is still a very jealous God. He is like like a schizophrenic woman who is in love with her husband since they were children. That's how God's personality is. I'm telling you from firsthand experience dealing with this, doing this for the last 3 years. He is a very, very jealous God. We're not under a law. Nope, we're perfect in everything we do. But he'll let you know. He'll let you know when you're stepping on toes you shouldn't be stepping on. Very good about it. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of thy fathers unto the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. So, number one, thou shalt have no other gods before me. In case you guys hadn't wondered, these are the Ten Commandments. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images. Thou shalt, oh, yeah, oh, this does have the verse. Yes, I'm so excited. Yes, 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 yes. All right. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. Now, watch right here. You know, I told you all this is for the 144,000? It's right there. And showing mercy unto thousands, not millions, not billions, not not hundreds of thousands, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thousands, not millions, not millions, not hundreds of thousands. Showing mercy unto thousands, 144,000 to be exact. And he's hinting at it here because you can't have Revelation without Exodus. You can't have Exodus without Revelation. You can't have either. You gotta have it all. And showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. And I love it how he throws this in here. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless. That's for the fucking people that they think that's all they do, and God's not going to think about it. The people who still sin, right? They don't drink, they don't smoke, they don't cheat on their spouse, they don't swear in public, they give all their money to the poor, they go to the heathen building every Sunday. But when they get really mad at their spouse or they fucking stub their toe, the first thing they do is say, Jesus Christ. They're not guiltless. They're fucked. They're fucked. You break that, you're done. We'll keep going. Remember the Sabbath. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days thou shalt labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, nor thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. You know what I really do find funny about this is because this is the one that Sakari broke on my channel. He said, "God damn it, let me kill it. Let me." How did he put it? Let me cut this fucking devil, right? When in reality, he's the one that still breaks the law. He's the one that's of the devil. It will not hold him guiltless. He thinks it's a fucking joke. It's not a joke. You're gonna lose your soul. Verse 12: Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. 13: Thou shalt not kill. Now we know Jesus said, if you hate your brother without a cause, that's murder. Thou shalt not commit adultery. You know, Jesus said, if you look at a woman with lust, if you look at the opposite sex with lust, if you're like, damn, she'd feel good, or damn, he'd feel good, guess what? If you're watching porn and you think You think you're fucking still got to try and be your best? If you still think sin exists, guess what? You're breaking the fucking law. Thou shalt not steal, not so much as an eraser, not even a candy wrapper, not even a drag off of somebody's cigarette, not nothing. Thou shalt not steal, motherfucker. Nothing. Not silverware from a restaurant, not a cup from your favorite place. Nothing. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. No lies. None. If you don't have facts, keep your mouth shut. No lies. Thou shalt not bear false witness, man. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. You can't even look at somebody's grill and be like, damn, that's a nice grill. I want one. You can't look at somebody's car. Ooh, where'd you get that? I want one. None of it. That's the law. And if you break one of those, you're cut off from Israel. Period. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter who you are. Every one of us, every human being is born to fail this. And as you fail it more and more and more, it's supposed to put you in the book. It's supposed to bring you to your knees to see what Jesus really did for you. Verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off. And they said unto Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. And they had no faith. Moses walked straight up to them. They had no faith. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God has come to prove you, and that his fear may be before your faces. What? That you sin not. That's what it's for. By the law is the knowledge of sin. God had the way to get out of that even back then. He made that covenant with Abraham. That if you just believe, then you're perfect. Genesis chapter 17, verse 1. You can go back and watch where we talked about that covenant, because this is a separate covenant. Abraham's covenant was separate from this. This is Moses's. This is the covenant God made with Moses. They're two different covenants. This is what the Old Testament is based on, this one with Moses. The New Testament is the fulfillment of the covenant that was made with Abraham, which takes precedence over Moses's. Period. And Moses said unto the people, fear not, for God has come to prove you, that his fear may be before your faces, that you sin not. It's right there. The gospel's right there. The law was designed that it would be impossible for you to keep it, so that you would see why Jesus was so important. Because the law was a prophecy about Christ. Right here. Jesus said so himself. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. He wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? If you don't believe that you're fucked for breaking one of these, then you're never going to believe the gospel anyway. And the people stood afar off, and Moses drew near unto the thick darkness where God was. And the Lord said unto Moses, thus thou shalt say unto the children of Israel, you have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make with me gods of silver, neither shall you make unto you gods of gold. None of that shit. An altar of the earth thou shalt make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings and thy peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. You are not supposed to add to anything God does. This is why he tells them, you're not even allowed to work the stone. If you're going to make an altar, it has to just be pure stone, the way he created it. It has to be perfect, the way he created it, because he created everything perfect. You thinking you need to change it you thinking you need to change is polluting what he created you to be. Man's laws are there to guide you. That's what you're supposed to follow. But he fulfilled his own law. 26. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Everything is supposed to be pure, perfect. Exodus 21. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. This is where this gets fun. If thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go free for nothing. If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master have given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the door post, and his master shall bore his ear with awl. So fucking wow, straight through the ear, and he shall serve him forever. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the men servants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power. So they weren't allowed to sell the Hebrews out to a strange land. Ain't happening. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her by marrying her to begin with. And if he have betrothed her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. So if you have one wife and then you take on another one, you cannot take away from what you already give your first wife. She still has to have all the attention, the time, the clothes, everything that you've been giving her. You can't treat her any differently by bringing in a new one. You can't have partiality between the two. If he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out free without money. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall be surely put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, then I will appoint thee a place whither he shall flee. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. So, if you, just to go through it slow, so everybody's on the understanding of what these laws are. He that smiteth a man so that he die shall surely be put to death. And if a man lie not in wait, so if it wasn't you setting out to kill this dude, if that dude came on you, if he came to you and was like, hey, I'm gonna fuck you up, and you kill his ass, then you're good. There's a place where you can run to. They had their own little city. And if a man lie not in wait, but God deliver him into his hand, and notice how he puts that too. God delivered him into your hand. So like if somebody comes in my house right now and I empty the insides of them on my floor, then God would have delivered that man into my hands to do so. So there's no, even back then, even under the law, that was still okay. Then I will appoint thee a place where he shall flee. But you still would have to flee because that guy's family would come and kill your ass otherwise. It was to prevent problems. But if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from mine altar, that he may die. And he that smiteth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death. Now, everybody wants to argue about the slave laws in the Bible, but if you go by the law, you had to have them. Something had to dictate slavery, or there would be no law to judge them by. So, like, if you want to look at the early Americas where they were stealing black people from Africa and dragging them over on ships, every one of those slave owners that pretended to believe in Jesus, that they were in a heathen building every Sunday singing them fucking old school choir hymnals, right? All those people that owned slaves back then will be held according to this standard. The law had to be there for slaves so that there was something to judge the sinners by. So the slave owners that weren't real believers, which we already know that is mercy only unto thousands. It's not millions, it's not billions, it's mercy unto thousands. It's only 144,000. So if a slave owner wasn't one of those, this is what they were measured by, and they'd be found guilty by this. If you break one, you're guilty of all. And he that stealeth a man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall be surely put to death. And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. And if men strive together, and look at, he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Remember, honor thy father and thy mother. And if men strive together, and one smiteth another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, I have to go back to this. So if you've ever told your mother to go fuck herself, or your dad, whatever, if you want to go by the law, you should be killed. You want to claim you go by the law, you should be killed. And if men strive together, and one smite another with a stone or with his fist, and he die not, but keepeth his bed, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he smote him to be. Then, if he rise again and walk abroad upon his staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. So if you get into a fight with somebody, and you hit him with a stone or with your fist, and he doesn't die, but he keepeth his bed. So if you give dude, like, you fuck him up, put him into a coma or whatever, and he gets up, if he rises again and walks abroad upon his staff, even just on a staff, then shall he that smote him be quit. So the problems are done. Only he shall pay for the loss of his time, and shall cause him to be thoroughly healed. And if a man smite his servant or his maid, walk abroad on his staff. Arctic, just in case you're curious, one of these. He shall walk on his staff. As long as he can still walk, you're good. You just got to take care of him, because you're the one that hurt him. And if a man smite his servant or his maid with a rod, and he die under his hand, he shall be surely punished. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. So if you beat your servant or your maid with a rod, and he dies under your hand, you shall be punished. You're still not allowed to kill your slaves. Notwithstanding, if he continue a day or two, he shall not be punished, for he is his money. So you own him. It's your business as long as they're not dead. If men strive and hurt a woman with child, so that her fruit depart from her, and yet no mischief follow, he shall be surely punished, according as the woman's husband will lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. And if any mischief follow, then thou shalt give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. Imagine, everybody watching this, imagine if you were really held to that standard. Every time you've ever hurt somebody, for it to be matched back to you. Imagine. Fucking imagine that. I do. I know that's this type of shit put me in the book. But if you go, I want you to tie this, just because I don't want you to forget the roots. I don't want you to forget, like, we're not under this law. This law is laid out because you can't keep it. It is only to show you, and fuck, we're going to do that verse too. Matthew 5, Jesus said, right here, you have heard that it has been said, an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, so new commandment, this is Jesus, that you resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. If any man will sue thee at the law and take away thy coat, let him have thy cloak also. That's about forgiving, not judging. The new covenant, love. The new commandment, love one another as he loved us. Forgive, don't judge, whatever. We're not under the old law. No matter what we do, we're perfect. So, where was I going from there? burning for burning, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. And while we're in Matthew, here it is right here. 5:17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Jesus fulfilled the law for you because you can't do it. That's it. We're not under that law. We're under the law of faith. We're under grace, which is the same thing that Abraham had. Same thing Isaac. Same thing as Moses. It's grace. Right here. Romans 6:14. For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. So as we're reading through all these, I want you to understand that this has all been fulfilled for us. A real believer cannot sin. We can't break the law. We're not under it. But if you want to go by the law, these are the details. And it gets heavy. All right, verse 26. And if a man smite the eye of his servant, or the eye of his maid, that it perish, he shall let him go free for his eye's sake. So if you cause your servant to go blind, he's free. And if he smite out his manservant's tooth, or his maidservant's tooth, he shall let him go free for his tooth's sake. So everybody always makes this big deal about owning slaves in the Bible, but really the Bible makes it so that if you're going to go by that law and you're going to own slaves, then you don't have a choice but to treat them right. Because if you fuck up and you cause them to lose an eye or a tooth, or you fucking hurt them, you got to set them free. That's the law. And the people that didn't do that, guess what they're going to be judged by? The law. Because you know damn well we're not going to get into it. Like I said, this is not for beginners. This is it's weird because the Old Testament is for like you got to know the New Testament real well. It's not for beginners. Exodus 21 verse 28. If an ox gore a man or a woman that they die, then the ox shall surely be stoned, and his flesh shall not be eaten, but the owner of the ox shall be quit. The owner will be free from the debt. But if the ox were wont to push with his horn in times past, and it hath been testified to his owner, and he hath not kept him in, but that he hath killed a man or a woman, the ox shall be stoned, and his owner also shall be put to death. So if you've got an unruly animal, unruly cow, ox, whatever, unruly animal, and that animal is known for being violent towards people, and you know about it, and you still let that animal in contact with other people, and that animal does damage, they're going to put you to death. If there be laid on him a sum of money, then he shall give him for the ransom of his life whatsoever is laid upon him. Whether he have gored a son or have gored a daughter, according to the judgment, shall be done unto him. So whoever it gored, if their family says, well, hey, if you give us, 50,000 shekels of gold, we'll let you out from under it. If he can pay it and get free from it, he's allowed to do so. If the ox shall push a manservant or a maidservant, he shall give unto their master 30 shekels of silver, and the ox shall be stoned. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein. And if a man shall open a pit, or if a man shall dig a pit and not cover it, and an ox or an ass fall therein, the owner of the pit shall make it good, and give money to the owner of them, and the dead beast shall be his. So if you dig a pit and somebody else's animal falls into it, you pay for the animal, and the carcass is yours to do with as you please. And if one man's ox hurt another's that he die, then they shall sell the live ox and divide the money of it, and the dead ox also shall they divide. Or if it be known that the ox hath used to push in times past, and his owner hath not kept him in, he shall surely pay ox for ox, and the dead shall be his own. So if your animal's known to be violent against other animals, and your animal kills the other animal, then you get the dead one, and you get to pay him for that ox that they killed. Exodus 22. If a man shall steal an ox or a sheep and kill it or sell it, he shall restore 5 oxen for an ox and 4 sheep for sheep. If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. Nope. You get caught stealing and someone kills you, everybody's in a good. Kind of the same rules we go by today, right? Almost. If you break into somebody's house, get it to yourself. If the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his. So you have to catch him in the act in order for this one to fly. Verse 2, Exodus 22, verse 2. If a thief be found breaking up and be smitten that he die, there shall no blood be shed for him. If the sun be risen upon him, though, so if he gets away with stealing and then gets caught, if the sun be risen upon him, there shall be blood shed for him, for he should make full restitution. If he have nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If the theft be certainly found in his hand alive, whether it be ox or ass or sheep, he shall restore double. So no killing him after the fact. If a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, if a man shall cause a field or vineyard to be eaten, and shall put in his beast, and shall feed in another man's field, of the best of his own field and of the best of his own vineyard, shall he make restitution. If fire break out and catch in thorns, so that the stacks of corn, or the standing corn, or the field be consumed therewith, he that kindled the fire shall surely make restitution. Like forest fires today. You cause a forest fire, you cause 70,000 acres worth of damage, you should pay back every fucking penny of that damage. If a man shall deliver unto his neighbor money or stuff to keep, and it be stolen out of the man's house, if the thief be found, let him pay double. If the thief be not found, then the master of the house shall be brought unto the judges to see whether he have put his hand unto his neighbor's goods. For all manner of trespass, whether it be for ox, for ass, for sheep, for raiment, or for any manner of lost thing, which another challenges to be his, the cause of both parties shall come before the judges, and whom the judges shall condemn, he shall pay double unto his neighbor. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or a sheep, or any beast to keep, and it die, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it. If a man deliver unto his neighbor an ass, or an ox, or sheep, or any beast to keep, and it die. So if you tell your neighbor, hey, I'm going on vacation, can you watch my cats, dogs, and cows? And while you're gone, it dies, or be hurt, or driven away, no man seeing it, then shall an oath of the Lord be between them both, and he hath not put his hand, that he hath not put his hand unto the neighbor's goods, and the owner of it shall accept thereof, and he shall not make it good. So if the guy promises, swears to God that he had, it was an accident, then there's nothing owed. And if it be stolen from him, he shall make restitution unto the owner thereof. If it be torn in pieces, then let him bring it for witness, and he shall not make good that which was torn. And if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, and it be hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, it came for his hire. Cost its payment for hiring. So if a man borrow aught of his neighbor, so if I were to borrow a donkey from my neighbor, and it's hurt or die, the owner thereof being not with it, he shall surely make it good. So if it dies in my hands, I got to pay my neighbor. But if the owner thereof be with it, he shall not make it good. If it be a hired thing, it came for his hire. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Let's talk about this, gentlemen. Let's talk about this, all you guys in here that claim that you still sin, you're trying to keep that law. Let's talk about this one. And if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. Every fucking muffin that you've stuck your dick in, that's supposed to be your wife. Every one of them. If you want to go by this law, you better start fucking making phone calls quick. If her father utterly refuse to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. So you still got to pay the father. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. If you want to go by the law and you want to play with tarot cards and shit, bye bye. 19. Whosoever lieth with a beast shall surely be put to death. I think I covered Doodles on here once. The guy I was locked up with in Florida, he loved his donkey. So look him up. His name is Doodles, Marion County, Florida. Look him up. I was in jail with him. I wish I had a chance to preach to him Jesus, because he's going to be judged by that there. Oof. 20. He that sanctifieth, or he that sacrificeth unto any god, save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed. So to any other god. And everybody that goes to a heathen building on a Sunday or a Saturday or a Wednesday, everybody that goes to a center building that goes in and they put their money in the plate, you are sacrificing to the devil. Sin, repent, repeat. Every time you sin, you serve the devil, and then you go and you give sinners your money to help them make more sinners. Destroyed. Fucking destroyed. You're going to be destroyed. It's not a joke. 21. Thou shalt neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If thou afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry, and my wrath shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword, and your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. To vex a stranger. Think about that long and hard. How can you vex somebody? Tell them they're not good enough. Make them feel like shit for who they are. That's oppression. You make them feel like they're not enough. Yep. You're going to fucking die by the sword. Amos 9:10. Amos 9:10. And all the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say that their evil shall not overtake or prevent them. 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as a usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury. You shouldn't profit from it, ever. If thou at all take thy neighbor's raiment to pledge, thou shalt deliver it unto him by that the sun goeth down. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin, wherewith shall he sleep. And it shall come to pass, when he crieth unto me, that I will hear, for I am gracious. Thou shalt not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of thy people. All these people, all anti-Trump, anti-Biden, all this bullshit, God's in control of all of it. Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits, and of thy liquors. He wants your liquor too. Thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits, and of thy liquors. The firstborn of thy sons shalt thou give unto me. Remember, we went over that, I think, back in chapter 17 or 18. Likewise, thou shalt do with thine oxen and with thy sheep 7 days. It shall be with his dam. On the 8th day thou shalt give it me. It's your firstborn. And you shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall you eat any flesh that is torn of beasts in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs. Roadkill goes to the dogs, if you go by the law. Exodus 23. Thou shalt not raise a false report. No lies. Put not thy hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. Oof. Oof. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrestle judgment. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. No arguing with the poor man who's trying to come up. Thou shalt not raise a false report. Put not thy hand with the wicked to an unrighteous witness. Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil. All them heathen buildings. Sin, repent, repeat. That's what you're doing. Neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to wrest judgment. Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. If thou meet thine enemy's ox or his ass going astray, thou shalt surely bring it back to him again. If thou see the ass of him that hateth thee lying under his burden, and wouldest forbear to help him, thou shalt surely help with him. You're supposed to even help your enemies. Thou shalt not wrestle the judgment of thy poor in his cause. He doubles down. Remember right up here? Neither shalt thou countenance a poor man in his cause. Thou shalt not wrestle the judgment of thy poor in his cause. Keep thee far from a false matter, and the innocent and righteous slay thou not, for I will not justify the wicked. What is it? What is it right there? Does he say right there? For I will not justify the wicked. I got a good verse for this. Proverbs 10:16. Exodus 23:7. Proverbs 10:16. Show you God's definition of a wicked person. It's very simple. Everybody who sins. Jesus said it himself. Whoever sins is a servant of sin. It's a wicked person. 6:16 or Proverbs 10:16. The labor of the righteous tendeth to life, the fruit of the wicked to sin. If you still sin, that's your fruit. That's what you bear. And everything you do is counted as sin. So you might only sin once a month, but that counts your entire month. Shit. Garbage. You're wicked. For I will not justify the wicked. He's very clear. And thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous. Also, thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, seeing you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Sabbath laws. Here we go. More laws. In 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still. Farmers still do this today. Today, without going by Bible law, they still do this. They still do this in America to this day. Farmers still let their land rest. In 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field shall eat. In like manner thou shalt deal with thy vineyard and with thy olive yard. So, but the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still, that the poor of the people may eat. So, in the 7th year, you don't plant anything. Whatever comes up from the year before, still, like any seeds that would have hit the ground, whatever comes up, you let it grow, and the poor people and the animals are allowed to go eat it. 12. 6 days thou shalt do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest. That thine ox and thine ass may rest, and that the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. 14. 3 times you shall keep a feast unto me in the year. Thou shalt keep the feast of unleavened bread. Thou shalt eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded thee, in the time appointed of the month Abib. For in it thou camest out from Egypt, and none shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of thy labors, which thou hast sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering, which is in the end of the year, when thou hast gathered in thy labors out of the field. 3 times in a year, all thy males shall appear before the Lord God. Thou shalt not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, neither shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until morning. The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring into the house of the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. See, you don't boil a baby goat in his mother's milk ever. He was not a fan of that. And what I'm hoping that you guys are understanding as we go through this entire list is that if you think you're saved and you still think sin exists, you try your best, you have to keep every fucking one of these lines flawless or you're cut off. Keep going. Verse 20. Behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and to bring thee into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions. For my name is in him. But if thou shalt indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thine enemies, and an adversary unto thine adversaries. For mine angel shall go before thee, and bring thee in unto the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. Thou shalt not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do after their works, but thou shalt utterly overthrow them, and quite break down their images. And you shall serve the Lord your God, and he shall bless thy bread and thy water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of thee. There shall nothing, there shall nothing cast their young, nor be barren in thy land. The number of thy days I will fulfill. I will send my fear before thee, and will destroy all the people to whom thou shalt come, and I will make all thine enemies turn their backs unto thee. And I will send hornets before thee, which shall drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before thee. I will not drive them out from before thee in 1 year, lest the land become desolate, and the beasts of the field multiply against thee. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land. Like I said, this wasn't just a, snap of the fingers. This was a process. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea, even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out from before thee. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. I want you to pay attention to this. What is he mainly concerned about? That you do not sin against him. That's it. No sin. And the way to keep the law, even back then, was the same as it is now. Was to just believe that God was going to fulfill his promise through Abraham. Moses believed it, David believed it, Abraham believed it, Isaac believed it, Jacob believed it, Esau did not. Abraham knew the gospel. Galatians chapter 3, verse 8. There's no, just so you guys get an idea. And Abraham was long before Moses. And he knew there's only one way to be perfect. And that's to admit that God just made us that way. 3:8 right here. And the scripture foreseeing that God would justify the heathen through faith, preached before the gospel unto Abraham, saying, in thee shall all nations be blessed. So then they which be of faith are blessed with the faithful Abraham. And that was God's biggest thing. That's why he did all these wondrous works. That's everything, is so that they would believe him. And they never did. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna go to 25. They shall not dwell in thy land, lest they make thee sin against me. For if thou serve their gods, it will surely be a snare unto thee. And what do they do? What do you know they did? They made a golden calf. Right here. And he said unto Moses, come up unto the Lord, thou and Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship you afar off. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, but they shall not come near, neither shall the people go up with him. And Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord, and all the judgments, and all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord hath said we will do. Right there. They put their foot in their own mouth. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and rose up early in the morning, and builded an altar under a hill, and 12 pillars, according to the 12 tribes of Israel. And he set young men of the children of Israel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Lord hath said we will do, and be obedient. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Lord had made with you concerning all these words. Their own words. They said they would do it. We'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it, we'll do it. And this is a separate covenant. This is a whole different covenant. This is not the one made with Abraham. This is the one made with Moses. There's two separate covenants. They're not the same. Then went up Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as if it were a paved work of sapphire stone, and as it were the body of heaven and his clearness. And upon the nobles of the children of Israel he laid not his hand. Also they saw God, and did eat and drink. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. This is where the new that covenant was made with Moses. Boom. So you've got the covenant with Abraham, which is be perfect, Genesis 17 verse 1. Now you've got the covenant with Moses, which is all the shit you can't do, because it's about Jesus. It's always been about Jesus. It's always going to be about Jesus. Jesus was the fulfillment of the promise made to Abraham, and the nullification of the covenant made with Moses. Nullified for the believer. The covenant with Moses was only made to judge the sinners by. I'm going to show you. That's what I was going to show you earlier. Romans 3:20. No, the Canaanites were the Canaanites. If you knew anything about Abraham and Sarah, but they were. Romans chapter 3 verse 20. Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. God only gave the law to show you why you needed to believe in the covenant with Abraham, to show you why you needed to believe in Jesus, why you needed to believe in him, because he is one and the same. They are one and the same. Every time it talks about the Lord coming down to the mountain, that was Jesus too. He came out and hung out people. So, for by the law is the knowledge of sin. Jesus fulfilled the law. If you believe in him, there's no more knowledge of sin. And the Lord said unto Moses, and then you keep the law perfectly, because you're not under it to break it, which is what the gospel is. Peace, 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 peace. Perfection by faith. By just believing that he did it, you were made perfect on the cross. And no, every time it says beasts of the field, it's talking about cows, camels, donkeys, and the likes. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law and commandments, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. Sorry, I got a tie for you guys for this. This one is 2 Corinthians. I know it is. I just got to remember where. Written in engraving stones. I don't use it that often anymore. Written 2 Corinthians 3:7. That's where it is. This is what I was thinking of earlier. And we ended up in Colossians. Here, 2 Corinthians 3:7. But if the ministration of death, written and engraven in stones, that's what he calls the law. The ministration of death. Because you trying to physically keep it only lands in sin. It only ends in death. Because you can't keep it. It's physically impossible for any human being to keep that law physically. Jesus was the only one, and that's why the law is about him, because he fulfilled it for us. But if the ministration of death, written and engraven in stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not steadfastly behold the face of Moses for the glory of his countenance, which glory was to be done away. The law was done away in Christ. That's what it's all about. It's to show you the Lamb without blemish. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me in the mount. 2 Corinthians 3:7 to Exodus 24:12. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law, and commandments, which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up into the mount of God. And he said unto the elders, Tarry ye here for us until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have any matters to do, let him come unto them. And Moses went up into the mount, and a cloud covered the mount. And the glory of the Lord abode upon Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And the seventh day he called unto Moses out of the midst of the cloud. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. This is why I showed you the top of that mount, Mount Sinai in Saudi Arabia. Sorry, I had my countries mixed up for a second. In Saudi Arabia, the top of the mountain is still black. It's because he was like a devouring fire at the top of the mount. It's still black from that. And they had it fenced off because that's what it was. The masses don't want you to know that. And the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. Exodus 25. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering of every man that giveth it willingly. With his heart you shall take my offering. Every man that gives willingly. That's what he wants. Willing. You got to be willing. And this is the offering which you shall take of them: gold and silver and brass, and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen and goat's hair, and ram's skin dyed red, and badger's skin and shittim wood, oil for light, spices for anointing oil and for sweet incense, onyx stones and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. So God's talking to him about this before he's even telling him what that is. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, so shall you make it. Now, I want to show you this just because I've shown everybody that takes this serious that you're here all the time. You guys already know which picture I'm going to go to, but I want to show you the pattern of the, what is it? Oh, pattern of the tabernacle in the wilderness. You guys are going to trip out because you're going to hear as he describes it that this is exactly what he meant. Okay, so the pattern of the people spread out round about it was there it is, right here. Boom. If you go by the book, the way he sets all the 12 tribes all the way around the tabernacle is right here. It's a shape of a cross. All about Jesus, people. It had nothing to do with you. It was God telling you what his son was going to do. By the law is the knowledge of sin. That's all it is. If you trust that Jesus fulfilled the law and paid for it for you, there is no more sin. Which, common sense, man, what the fuck do you think he got on that cross for? He did not get on that cross for you to keep calling yourself a sinner. He got on that cross for you to say thank you for making you perfect as you are, reconciling all things. Perfect, lamb without blemish. According to all that I show thee after the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of the instruments thereof, even so shall you make it. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof. A cubit is 18 inches. There's two kinds of cubits, but just to save time, 18 inches. And they shall make an ark of shittim wood, 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold. Within and without shalt thou overlay it, and shall make it upon a crown of gold round about. And thou shalt cast 4 rings of gold for it, and put them in the 4 corners thereof. And 2 rings shall be in the one side of it, and 2 rings in the other side of it. And thou shalt make staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold. And thou shalt put the staves into the rings by the sides of the ark, and the ark, that the ark may be borne with them. The staves shall be in the rings of the ark, they shall not be taken from it. And thou shalt put into the ark the testimony which I shall give thee. Boom. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Done. And thou shalt make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half shall be the length thereof, and a cubit and a half the breadth thereof. And thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold. Of beaten work shalt thou make them in the 2 ends of the mercy seat, and make 1 cherub on the one end, and the other cherub on the other end. Even of the mercy seat shall you make the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubims shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another. Towards the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubims be. If anybody has never seen the Ark of the Covenant, if you're on this channel and you've never seen the Ark of the Covenant, I'm not going to give you shit. I'm just going to show it to you. This close. I mean, there's so many different. I think this is probably as close as you're going to get. This one, if you go by the descriptions, that's just a beautiful. Just is what it is. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat with their wings, and their faces shall look one to another. Towards the mercy seat shall the seat, toward the mercy seat shall the faces of the cherubims be. And thou shalt put the mercy seat above upon the ark, and in the ark thou shalt put the testimony that I shall give thee. And there I will meet with thee, and I will commune with thee from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubims which are upon the ark of the testimony, of all things which I will give thee in commandment unto the children of Israel. Thou shalt also make a table of shittim wood. 2 cubits shall be the length thereof, and a cubit the breadth thereof, and a cubit and a half the height thereof. And thou shalt overlay it with pure gold, and make thereto a crown of gold round about it. And thou shalt make unto it a border of a handbreadth round about, and thou shalt make a golden crown to the border thereof round about. And thou shalt make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof. Let's talk about these. The 4 rings. When you see them wrapped around the gold right here, boom, boom, on the legs. You see them here, the rings, boom, boom, the whole mercy seat right there. The angels facing down, the wings touching each other. Everything exactly how he described it. And thou shalt make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings in the 4 corners that are on the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border shall the rings be for places of the staves to bear the table. And thou shalt make the staves of shittim wood, and overlay them with gold, and the table may be borne with them. And thou shalt make the dishes thereof, and the spoons thereof. Wait, is this the table of showbread? Hang on. No, this is the showbread table. My bad. Completely blank. And thou shalt make the dishes thereof, and the spoons thereof, and covers thereof, and bowls thereof, to cover withal. Of pure gold shalt thou make them, and thou shalt set upon the table showbread before me always. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work shall the candlestick be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knops, and his flowers shall be the same. For anybody curious, a knop. I know, because when I first did this, I started looking at all this, I was like, what the fuck is a knop? And there's some other shit too. A knop. A knop. There you go. You'll figure it out as we're reading. Watch knops on showbread table. Knops on showbread table. Knops. Wait, I want to make sure. There's usually a diagram of these things. And this is kind of my big thing too. As we go through it, I will go through and show you everything that is here as much as is in me as possible. Looking for the knobs. Knobs on the showbread table. The caps on the end or whatever. Hang on, because I want to make sure I'm accurate. There's a knob. There you go. That's your best one. Knob. Gives you an idea of what he's talking about. Shit on the end. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlestick be made, his shafts and his branches, his bowls, his knobs. Oops, that's why. Knob, candlestick. Oh, I'm jumping ahead of myself too much. Knobs, these things. These little fucking, whatever you want to call them. Knobs. Now you get it. Okay. And thou shalt make a candlestick of pure gold, of beaten work shall the candlesticks be made. His shaft and his branches, his bowls, his knobs, and his flowers shall be of the same. It all had to be formed from one piece. And 6 branches shall come out of the sides of it, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side. 3 bowls made like unto almonds, with a knot and a flower in one branch, and 3 bowls made like almonds in the other branch, with a knot and a flower. So in the 6th branch that cometh out of the candlestick. So let's look at this. Golden candlestick knops. This is going to get a lot more interesting as we go, Diane. See, I wish I could just. Damn it. There we go. That's the one I was looking for. Boom. The branch, the shaft, the flower or the bud, and the knop right there. I was right. The bowl of the calyx, whatever. That's your knop right there. That little thing right there. That's your knop. 3 bowls made like an almonds with a knop and a flower in one branch. 3 bowls made like an almonds in the other branch with a knop and a flower. So in the 6 branches that come out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick shall be 4 bowls made like unto almonds with their knops and their flowers. And there shall be a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that proceed out of the candlestick. 6 branches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one is short knops. Their knops and their branches shall be of the same. All it shall be one beaten work of pure gold. And thou shalt make the 7 lamps thereof, and they shall light the lamps thereof, that they may give light over against it. And the tongs thereof, and the snuff dishes thereof, shall be of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold shall he make it, with all these vessels. And look that thou make them after their pattern, which was showed thee in the mount. Very simple. God showed them, and that's what they made. Okay, do I really want to get into all this tonight? That's a lot. I wanted to get into the 30s, I really do, but I'm not. We're gonna save it. We're gonna save it. So we went over the ark, the showbread table, the candlestick, all the silverware. We've gone over the basics of the law, which even just going over everything I've shown you tonight, it's physically impossible for you to keep it. You can't do it. You have to accept that Jesus did it for you. Otherwise, you're going to keep breaking it over and over and over for the rest of your life. And even you've read that if you break one, you're cut off. God wasn't joking, not even a little bit. The whole law you read with me. The entire law was to prove whether you would keep it or not. That's it. That is it. To prove them whether they would keep the law or not. Exodus 16:4. That's going to be the pinned comment tonight. Is going to be Exodus chapter 16, verse 4. Then said the Lord unto Moses, Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Every time somebody sins, they prove that they don't walk in the law. They're not of him. They lie, and they do not the truth. So it's very simple. It's very, very simple. The only way to keep it perfect is to admit that he did it for you. That's it. And then it's done. It's over. All your problems are done. Everything. All you got to do is start from scratch. Out loud, say Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and then start from scratch. Start reading all over. Forget everything you thought you knew. If you still sin, you are still of the devil. I don't give a fuck who you are, and neither does God. There's no respect to persons, man. He does not care at all. You either walk in the law or you don't. You either keep it perfectly or you don't. And there's only one way. That's it. There's only one way to keep it perfect, and that is to accept that He did it for you. It's a very, 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 very simple thing. So, I know we've been at, holy shit, we've been at this for 3 hours already. Damn. I didn't even look at the clock. I had no idea it's been 3 hours. Oh, I love this book so much. But for the people that did make it this far, a while back, I'd started doing Proverbs. I did Proverbs chapter 1 at the end of I think the last video in Genesis. I did Proverbs chapter 1. I said I would do a chapter after every video, but I've been forgetting to. So today we'll do Proverbs chapter 2. And I mean, it sucks because the people that weren't here for chapter 1 aren't here for chapter 2. Or if they're here for chapter 2, they're not going to understand what it's all about. But it is what it is. So be it. I'll read you the whole book at the end of everything when we're done. All right. So, my son, if thou will receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, the truth within you, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom and apply thine heart to understanding, yea, if thou criest after knowledge and liftest up thy voice for understanding, you got to seek him. If thou seekest her as silver and searchest for her as for hid treasures, means you got to give yourself wholly to them. And I like when he says this because I think of the old gold miners that would go out to California. They would trade, they would sell everything they had and go rush to go gold mining, right? It's the same concept here. You got to forget everything you thought you knew. If you still sin, you're still a sinner, you're not saved. Start from scratch. Stop listening to people. Stop listening to everything else. Sit down, start in Romans, read it like 9 times. Don't fucking stop till you figure it out. It's not hard. It's really not hard. Then shalt thou understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. If you still sin, you don't walk uprightly, you don't have the knowledge of God, you don't have the understanding, you are not of the righteous. He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous, the real believers. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. It means you walk perfect. He keepeth the paths of judgment and preserveth the way of his saints. You cannot be a sinner and a saint at the same time. You can't be both. Then shalt thou understand then shalt thou understand righteousness. Then shalt thou understand righteousness. Righteousness is perfection. The only way to understand that is to know the truth. The only way to know the truth is to admit that he paid for it all. That's it. Very simple. And judgment and equity, yea, every good path. When wisdom entereth into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul. That knowledge has to be pleasant to them. It has to be good for them to go by the book. If I show you John 8:34 and you get all pissy, then knowledge isn't pleasant to you. Then you're just a pissy little fucking whiny sinning bitch. And then you go run off and keep serving sin. When wisdom entereth into thine soul, into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee, to deliver thee from the way of evil man. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man. That sin, repent, repeat. Remember Proverbs chapter 1, verse 10. I would even tie it to that. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. Don't ever listen to a sinner at all about anything. Save yourself the headache and heartache. Save yourself the pain. Understand if they still sin, they're nothing to you. If you're a real believer and they still sin, they're nothing to you. They could have been your best friends your whole life. They were only there to keep you in sin. Could be your mom, your dad, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin. It's part of being an overcomer. It's trading it all. Like when Jesus told the disciples, drop everything you do and follow me. Drop everything and follow me. That's what this is. Drop everything. Listen to what the fuck I'm telling you. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things. Check it out. You know what a froward mouth is? The person, I'm gonna show you this. You guys will like this. A froward mouth is constant disobedience, right? That's what it is. Froward definition. Fingers. Definition. Here. Oof. I like it. We can even use this. The picture. Not willing to yield or comply with what is required or is reasonable. Perverse. Disobedient. Peevish as a froward child. We'll go over here just to get the actual definition. Stubbornly, contrary, and disobedient, obstinate. The froward mouth is the one that keeps sinning. The person that plays that sin, repent, repeat, sin, repent, repeat, sin, repent, repeat. That is the froward mouth. God, I promise I'm going to quit. And then they never do. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh froward things, who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness. Who does that? Sinners. People who still sin. They know the law and they break it anyway. They don't trust that Jesus fulfilled it. They think they need to themselves. And then all they do is fail it over and over and over. Who leave the paths of uprightness to walk in the ways of darkness. That's everybody that sins. Who rejoice to do evil and delight in the frowardness of the wicked. These are sinners. This is the congregation of the sinners every Sunday. Like fucking roaches in these heathen buildings. Like fucking spider roaches. That's what they are. They gather together every Sunday and they fucking congratulate each other and each other's self-righteousness. Disgust fucking nasty. Whose ways are crooked and they froward in their paths. Their ways are crooked. Sin, repent, repeat, sin, repent. It's crooked as fuck. That's who it's warning you about. To deliver thee from the strange woman, that's the heathen buildings. That's religion. The strange woman, you need to know that. That's the whore from Revelation. That is religion. And it started with the fucking flesh Jews. It started with these motherfuckers that we're reading about in Exodus. God gave them the commandments. What did they do? They're like, we'll keep it. And then what do they do? Keep breaking it over and over and over. Kept murmuring against God. They didn't actually believe. And we're going to get into all that next time. Oh, I'm so excited. Next time, this whole book, we're going to finish Exodus next time. And then you're going to see, and we're going to start getting into Leviticus, and we're going to get into Deuteronomy, and you're going to see it full blown. The gospel was preached in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. It's been preached since the beginning. Perfection is the only way. To deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger with flattereth with her words. What does that sound like? What does that sound like? That sounds like one of these fucking Troy Taylor idiots. Fucking these fucking frauds that sell you some bullshit ideology that you can still sin and be saved. They're liars. They're strangers that flatter with their words. Amen, brother. Good job. Oh, we're going to pray for you, brother. They flatter you with words. They fucking lie to you. Which forsaketh the guide of her youth. How do you know they do that? Just ask them if they sin. They forsake the guide. They forsake it. They don't give a fuck. And forgetteth the covenant of her God. They forget that they're going to be judged by the law. They forget the promise made to Abraham. They forget it. They say, oh, I keep it, I keep it, I keep it, I keep it. Oh, but it's okay for them to break it, not you. Fucking hypocrites. 18. For her house inclineth unto death, and her paths unto the dead. The strange woman, that's the heathen buildings. That's what it's talking about. Her house inclines to death, and her paths unto the dead. None that go unto her return again, neither take they hold of the paths of life. That thou mayest walk in the way of good men, and keep the paths of the righteous. Everybody looks at me and they see cigarettes and drinking and they see all this. They don't understand what righteousness really is. I'm not here to appear righteous to you. I fucking am righteous because Jesus made me righteous. I don't need to look like it. I am it. Anybody that has to feign it, anybody that pretends, they put on that humble bullshit, that front. They won't swear in front of you. They won't tell you that they fucking have a secret meth addiction. They won't tell you that they drink. They won't tell you that they still watch porn. They hide everything from everybody. They want you to think they're righteous, so they mold themselves into this image that they create in their own mind, going loosely basing their daily routine on the bullshit moral compass that they think they have. And then what do they do when they break that? God forgive me, froward mouth motherfuckers. That thou mayest walk in the way of good men and keep the paths of the righteous. For the upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it. There it is. Oh, fuck yeah. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 21. The upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it. But the wicked shall be cut off from the earth, and the transgressors, which is the sinners, shall be rooted out of it. The day is coming, people, and it's coming swiftly. Do not kid yourself. Do not take a break. Don't think you got room to breathe. You don't. You need to be in this book all day, every day. If you're not preaching it, then you should be reading it. If you're not reading it and you're not preaching it, then shame on you. I don't care if you watch hentai, dude. I don't judge you. You're not under the law, man. I see you as perfect, Private Wars. It's never changed. I've never accused you of sin. I asked you, you said you do, then you accused yourself. It's right there, man. For the upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it. Jesus made you perfect on the cross. All you got to do is believe it. And you got to take his word serious, because if you believe it, then you'll take the book serious. If you don't take it serious, then you don't believe it to begin with. And that'll become evident real quick. Brunette will vouch on how fast we catch frauds. If you're not serious, you'll get caught. And there's more accountability in a crew of people that I roll with than you've ever had in your life. We're harder than you're fucking like. It's a beautiful thing. I love that every one of you, I am accountable to every one of you, and I fucking love it. If I make one mistake with this book, then I can't be the preacher. But I'll never make a mistake with it, because it just means what it says. Because I am the fucking preacher. And he is in me every day, all fucking day. And I do this because it's him and me doing this with you, because of the love that I have for you, because of the love he had for me. And because I know what it's like to be broken, and I know what it's like to be healed. He paid for it all. I wish you fucking people would just listen. Take it serious. It's life or death. I love y'all. I really do. I salute the brethren. To the people that make it through this, awesome. That's right there, man. Proverbs 2, 21, 22. But the upright shall dwell in the land, and the perfect shall remain in it. But the wicked shall be cut off from the earth, and the transgressors shall be rooted out of it. Sherry, no thank you. You're always so good about saying thanks to me. You don't even have to. But you always say thanks, and I'm always like ending it as you say thanks, and I'm always like, fuck, I feel bad because I want to say you're welcome. You're more than welcome. Share it. Like it. Like and share, man. Fucking send everybody this way. Let me deal with your headaches. I got no problems with it. You may find it hard to tell your mom to go fuck herself. I promise. I have no filter. I don't care. I'll tell her exactly where she stands. I love you guys, man. The book means what it says. Private Wars, if you still sin, and you're still of the devil, man. You can come in here and make all the excuses and all the woo hubbub you want. When you're by yourself and you're in that room and you fuck up again, and you remember them words that Jesus said, whoever sins is the servant of sin. I promise you, dude, when you break, I'll be there to catch you. And I'll lift you up. I've got a whole bunch of people that'll help you. We love you guys, man. Really do. My whole fucking family. My family asks everybody, no, I can't sin. Real believers don't sin. Private Wars. Fake ones do. You're just a fake. With no humility and no sense of accountability to just accept it. You're just a fraud, man. But you go ahead, keep serving sin. And I'll keep walking upright. And I know that he made me perfect. And I know what I inherit at the end. I love y'all. I salute the brethren. Fucking thank you guys. Read your Bibles. Adios.